The works of Oscar Wilde are still as popular as ever, and his only novel, The Picture of Dorian Gray, remains a classic. The 1945 film adaptation is one of my favourites and an excellent adaptation, following the book in great detail whilst changing a few aspects that really make the film shine. The titular character of Dorian Gray is known for making a wish to never age whilst his portrait ages instead, a wish which comes true.
I must congratulate you, Basil. Look at yourself, Mr. Gray.
As I grow old, this picture will remain always young. If it were only the other way, if it were I who was always to be young, and the picture that was to grow old.
You would hardly care for such an arrangement, Basil. It would be rather hard lines on your work.
I should object strongly, Harry.
You oughtn't to express such a wish in the presence of that cat, Dorian. It's one of the 73 great gods of Egypt, and is quite capable of granting your wish.
Some may argue this film is more of a drama or a fantasy, but in my mind it is a true horror film. The horror elements are subtle and creep through the air throughout the entire film, and the deeply unsettling nature of Dorian himself is frankly terrifying, perhaps more so than many other horror characters. Beginning in 1886 London, we are introduced to Dorian Gray, played by Hurd Hatfield, the subject of a portrait done by artist Basil Hallward, and it is during one of these sessions that Dorian meets Lord Henry Wotton, played by George Sanders. Lord Henry is what some may call corrupt, with very controversial views on the world, particularly at that time, and it is these views he shares with Dorian that leads him down a very dark path, corrupting Dorian's very soul. During these early days, Dorian is taken with singer Sybil Vane, a young Angela Lansbury, but it is the influence of Lord Henry on Dorian that leads to a horrible act. As the film shifts 18 years on, Dorian has not aged, and his life has not been the same, with many rumours circulating in high society of his terrible misdeeds, but most people simply don't buy it because Dorian has the face of innocence and maintains the same haunting good looks. As a new potential romance appears for Dorian at that time in Basil's niece, Gladys, played by Donna Reed, will there be a change in Dorian, or has he become far too corrupt to change? First and foremost, The Picture of Dorian Gray is a visual delight. The sets, the costumes, the cinematography, and the clever use of colour for certain scenes in a mostly black and white film is utterly brilliant. The film won Best Cinematography Black and White for Harry Stradling Jr. at the 1946 Academy Awards, and deservedly so. There is an elegance about the film which serves as a mask for the true horror hiding beneath it, a very clever aspect of the film. The performances here are also excellent. Hurd Hatfield made for a very chilling Dorian. His cold demeanour and lack of visual emotion make for a deeply frightening character. His performance is layered, and he was certainly the right choice for the part. George Sanders also stands out as Lord Henry, a charismatic man who cares not for much. The performance here is masterful, and not one you'll soon forget. Dare I say it, he is a bit like an evil Tony Stark, effortlessly delivering charismatic speeches, but not with any noble purposes in mind.
To every feeling, expression to every thought, reality to every dream. Every impulse that we suppress broods in the mind and poisons us. There's only one way to get rid of a temptation, and that's to yield to it. Resist it, and the soul grows sick with longing for the things it has forbidden to itself.
With so much on offer, the film is a treasured delight, a must-see masterwork. The horror of the story speaks volumes, even if it isn't shown visually. The writing and direction make it work on a far more subtle and, well, unnerving level. And it is a piece that has many horrific moments. The portrait itself is also quite a sight to see. The changing elements of it through the film give the audience a chance to glance at the true corruption and horror of Dorian. So, and overall, to those who have not had a chance to see the film, I suggest adding it to your list. You will not be disappointed. As a final point, it is interesting that Hurd Hatfield struggled to further his career after this film. In some ways, he was the perfect Dorian Gray, and therefore it seems studios and audiences struggled to accept him as a moral, romantic leading man after that. Better to have one hit than none, though, perhaps. Overall, my rating, 4 out of 5 star. Unsettling, powerful, and beautifully shot.